that we are selective in terms of addressing the illegal immigration, or it is not okay to blame it on the nation, foreign nationals. It's important for South Africans to truly take responsibility and accountability for their lives. They need to take ownership for their lives and stop blaming other people for their misfortune, because the problem is that the government has promised them, making promises that at the end of the day they are not delivering. They become dependent to this government. You will find them collecting the 370 from the government. They move from the post office queue, they go to the liquor seat queue.
In our last video, we showed you the real cause of the chaos currently tearing through South Africa's streets. We showed you the data. We showed you the statistics. And we showed you why foreigners are not the problem. But today, we are going deeper. Because knowing the cause is one thing. The bigger question, the one that should make every African on this continent deeply uncomfortable, is this. Why is the government of South Africa watching this happen and doing almost nothing to call this what it is? Which is violation of human rights. And the second question, one that stings even more. Where are the celebrities? Where are the voices with millions of followers? Why is their silence so loud? This is South Africa Simplified. And today, we will shine a light into the dark corners that powerful people would rather you never see. Stay with us. If this is your first time here, you're welcome. Kindly hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. Now let's simplify the issue. Let us start with the South African government, and specifically President Cyril Ramaphosa. On the 27th of April 2026, Freedom Day. As foreign nationals were being chased from hospitals and businesses were being looted across Durban, Ramaphosa stood at the podium in Bloemfontein and delivered a speech. He invoked Africa's solidarity during apartheid, saying, and I quote, "It must never be that we trample the African fellowship that made our freedom possible." Beautiful and powerful words. But here is the problem. His message carried a second layer. While condemning violence, he simultaneously said South Africa extends hospitality to foreigners, but expects that generosity to be met with respect for the country's laws. Critics say this dual message, condemning violence while emphasizing legal compliance, was treading a thin line for political expediency in a moment that demanded moral clarity. In plain language, he condemned the attacks with one hand, and gave the attackers political cover with the other. But it gets worse. While formally distancing itself from the xenophobic campaign, the government's own policy is rooted in anti-immigrant repression. Ramaphosa has previously insisted that South Africa cannot be a country where everyone who wants to come can stay, and has emphasized the need to secure borders and enforce immigration laws more strictly. And most damning of all, while anti-immigrant groups march through parts of Durban under the banner of clean-up campaigns, shutting down businesses and harassing foreign nationals, not a single person has been prosecuted for organizing or directing these actions, despite the visible presence of the South African Police Service. Let that sink in. The police were there. They watched. And nobody has been arrested for organizing this. So now we must ask the uncomfortable question that no mainstream media outlet wants to ask directly. Is the South African government, and political parties, benefiting from this chaos? Consider the timing. As the African Continental Free Trade Area promises a borderless economic renaissance, a rising tide of xenophobia is threatening to tear apart Pan-African solidarity. Groups organizing a national shutdown, planned for May 4, 2026, openly declared, "We are xenophobic. We want all foreigners, documented or not, out of this country." And yet, silence from the top. Think about what that means. When a government is facing elections, facing economic failure, facing a 32% unemployment rate that it cannot explain away, a convenient enemy is priceless. If South Africans are angry at Nigerians and Zimbabweans, they are not angry at the ANC or the GNU. They are not asking why corruption has eaten the country alive. They are not demanding answers for 30 years of broken promises. City by city, South Africa's leading anti-foreigner figures organize and lead marches against foreigners, encountering no obstacles. South African businesses with large operations across the continent, like MTN and Standard Bank, now risk retaliatory action because the attacks are becoming a global story. The government is playing a dangerous game. And ordinary Africans, on both sides, are paying the price. Now let us talk about the people with the biggest platforms in South Africa. The musicians, the actors, the sports stars, the influencers with millions of followers across Instagram, TikTok and Twitter. Where are they? Think about it. When George Floyd was killed in America in 2020, South African celebrities flooded their social media pages with black squares and solidarity posts within hours. When there is an international cause, the voices come quickly. But right now, as African brothers and sisters are being beaten in the streets of Durban, as Ghanaian traders are having their shops looted, as Nigerian families are being told to leave the country they have called home for years, the celebrities of South Africa are largely silent. And that silence is not neutral. There comes a moment in history when silence becomes complicity. That moment is now. But to be fair, there are exceptions. And they deserve to be named.
And I want to challenge you. You say Zimbabweans take your job, Nigerians take your jobs, and you march and close shops and beat up people. Tell us after. I don't want your vote if you behave like that. Take them away. If the MK wants it, give it to them. I don't want the votes that say to me, I must hate Africans for you to vote for me. I'll never.
And then he said something remarkable for a politician. I don't want your votes. If you behave like that, take them away. I don't want a vote that says I must hate Africans. That is courage. That is moral clarity. Celebrity and cultural commentator, Nsiki Mezwe, also weighed in, making an important distinction, arguing that what South Africa is practicing is not xenophobia but Afrophobia, because the hatred is specifically directed at black Africans who look like them. But beyond these voices, the silence from South Africa's entertainment industry is deafening. Where are the Grammy-nominated artists? Where are the Afrobeats collaborators who proudly stand on stages with Nigerian and Ghanaian musicians? Where are the footballers? Where are the influencers? If you have 2 million followers and you say nothing while your fellow Africans are being attacked in your country, your silence is a statement. And history will remember it. While South African celebrities stay quiet, the rest of Africa and the world is speaking loudly. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights has expressed grave concern over the xenophobic violence, noting with alarm that the latest attacks form part of a long-standing pattern, including the 2008 nationwide attacks that resulted in over 60 deaths, 1,700 injuries, and 100,000 displacements, and ongoing incidents in the 2020s linked to groups such as Operation Dujula. Nigerian human rights activist Francis Nwapa accused President Ramaphosa of enabling xenophobic attacks through silence and failure to act decisively, warning that continued inaction could deepen divisions across Africa and stain his legacy. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister raised what he called trending videos showing Ghanaians coming under extremely disturbing xenophobic attacks, reminding South Africa of Ghana's support during the anti-apartheid struggle and stressing that attacks on law-abiding foreigners were contrary to the principles of African solidarity. And the United Nations has issued a formal warning to South Africa to act. The world is watching. Africa is watching. And the verdict from the international community is clear: South Africa's government is failing its constitutional and moral duty. There is something we need to say that is painful but necessary. What is happening in South Africa is not classic racism in the colonial sense. It is something more complex, a post-colonial fracture within black identity itself. Black South Africans, many of whom are genuinely suffering, have been manipulated into directing their pain at the most visible and vulnerable people around them. Not at the mining companies still extracting South Africa's wealth. Not at the politicians still looting the state. Not at the economic system that was designed to keep black people poor. We are not here to condemn our country, South Africa. We love this country. South Africa is the heartbeat of this continent. Its freedom was paid for with African blood from across this continent. But love sometimes means telling hard truths. The government of South Africa must do more than make speeches. It must make arrests. It must prosecute those organizing this violence. It must stop using anti-immigrant rhetoric for political gain. And the celebrities, the voices with power and platforms, must understand that in moments like this, silence is a choice. And it is the wrong one. We are one Africa. And we cannot afford to be enemies. This is South Africa Simplified. Share this video. Because the continent needs to have this conversation.